So the biscuit disc wheel never gets old. No matter how many times I see it here on a Cannondale. I'm at the Women's Tour de France and the individual time trial stage. They've actually already done one stage today. They did a roughly 65, 70K road race stage this morning, and then now they have to go and do a short time trial stage. So it is a complete scene here. I'm just gonna walk through the time trial kind of process, how it all works, and just show you some tidbits behind the scenes. Now, obviously stay tuned because we got some things coming up here, some last minute surprises. Now, quick note that this video is sponsored by Precision Fuel and Hydration. More about them a little bit later on in the video. So the riders will go off today based on the reverse order of their standings in the GC. So in other words, the last place rider is going first and the first place rider is going last. Now, the stage is only 6K long, so it's relatively short. Still, they're gonna do a warm-up despite that. You can see them back there warming up right now, and they all have a different warm-up for each individual rider. So some of those warm-ups are longer or shorter, and it's time to be ahead of each individual start because that start period is spread over the next roughly 3 hours. It is a warm-ish day today, but keep in mind, again, they already had that early morning stage this morning, and they've got to ride again tomorrow. So the idea is to minimize the impact in all the ways possible. One way you could minimize that impact is cake. And if you look right here, there is a cargo bike for cake delivery. It's even got an official sticker, which is pretty awesome. I am a fan of this situation. The only problem is I don't see the cake person, so I'm missing the cake. Now, you'll note back at Education First, they've got those coolie mitts there for the riders. It's something I saw at the Men's Tour de France as well. And if you're up for a fun experiment, on a hot day, just go into your bathroom, put cold water over your hands. You'd be amazed how cool you feel quickly. It's pretty astounding. So you can see that the big old mister system on there with a fan and the mist coming out, and the rider is just about to get on her bike there. She's about to receive a cooling vest as well on top of that. I don't know exactly how hot it is right now. I would say it's in the mid 80s Fahrenheit, so maybe about low 30s, something like that. It's definitely warm and humid, but again, remember, this is the second ride of the day for them. So very, very long day. It's almost 4:30 or so. So they've been lots of stuff going on. We'll do a total trainer count at the end here of all the different types of smart trainers used. But the first time I've seen a Magine trainer used in either the women's or the men's pro side. Magine has outfitted this entire team with their T100 trainers. Magine makes trainers for a lot of the big name companies anyway. So for most riders, they probably won't notice a difference anyways. We have not one, but two laundry machine here on AG Sudel's team bus. Pretty common to have one, often one also in the maintenance truck, but we've got two here and probably more in the maintenance truck. Meanwhile, looking at the smart trainers, they have the Taxneo 3M. They are a Garmin sponsored team. You can see that by the fancy fence right here. It's kind of a interesting angle, isn't that, like that? You can see that by the fancy fence that's down there behind the trainers. So all the Garmin teams have these little fences around them, and then they have all the smart trainers back there. So this double stage has been a bit of a nightmare for most teams. And by nightmare, I mean all the teams absolutely hate it and all the riders hate it. And that manifests itself in a number of ways. You can see right here, all of the team luggage piled up. They have to change hotels tonight, but they had to be out of their hotel super early this morning for the early morning stage. Then they got the evening stage, and then they're all in different spots, different starting and ending locations. It's a complete mess. And of course, for those riders that fell, it's just kind of one more thing to deal with. You can see one of the riders warming up right there on those elite trainers. But also the UCI normally bans this sort of thing. ASO essentially got like a special exemption for this. There's an entire great article on the Escape Collective, I'll link it here, that goes into all the nuance of today and why it's such a hot mess. But at least as of right now, the thunderstorms that are predicted haven't quite happened yet. So that's a good thing. Example 24 and why this day is probably not loved by teams. Human-powered health bus appears to be broke. It's got a big old truck there, big old tow truck tied up to it. I guess they got it here, but I don't know. I'll have to find out what the dealio is. Update, I found out what happened down there. Not good at all. It's leaking basically a bunch of the fluid that it shouldn't leak, most notably the fluid that keeps the brakes and things like that working. So what's happened is they actually have a spare bus, not quite as big, not quite as luxurious, but it does have brakes. About 2 hours away from their service course is basically like their team distribution hub, and then they're going to swap things around. And so this one, they'll ensure it's all good to go, and they'll just use the spare one for the rest of the race because, you know, brakes seem mildly important. Unquestionably, the best photo op of the day so far has been the Canyon SRAM rider under the umbrella protecting from the sun with the fans, the misting fans straight in to keep it cool. Definitely getting a bit steamier out here as the sun comes out and the clouds go away. Now, it's hard to see from this angle, but they are legitimately warming up on Zwift. You can kind of barely see it in the corner there. So as you might expect, not all teams are equal from a funding standpoint. And so there's actually two different kind of classifications here at both the men's and the women's tour. There's World Tour teams, and there's basically the next level down, kind of the Pro Tour teams. And the World Tour teams are the big name teams that you think of. But then there's usually 4 to 5 teams that are invited to the race that may be common names to you, but maybe don't have the same level of funding. And one of those being Team Uzbekistan right here. And you can see back there, they've really only got just a smaller motorhome. And then with that, they've got kind of a hodgepodge of sports tech from a bikes and trainers, etc. standpoint. And I point that out not to minimize these teams, but to note how big a shift, because just 5 years ago, that was the norm for all of the teams, right? It's only in the last 5 or so years that we've seen teams get the legit big buses that we see there and there and there and everywhere else along this stretch. And so it's incredible to see the growth of women's cycling from not just a fan engagement standpoint, but also from a sponsorship perspective. So you notice there Team Uno X, there's that white Tax Neo 3M, different from the rest. Garmin has essentially Garmin reps that go around each morning of both the men's and the women's races, and they have specially designed trainers for the different jersey leaders. They have polka dot ones, so on, and they just simply move them around between the different teams. So in this case, this team holds the white jersey, and so they've got that particular trainer at least for the next day. Now, quick note, this video is sponsored by Precision Fuel and Hydration. They also sponsor Team Lotto Destiny there, and the riders are using it here, and I use it myself. I use it for quite a while, myself, my wife, them, along with plenty of other pro athletes across both endurance sports and non-endurance sports alike. In fact, if you watched yesterday's video, you saw the stickers that they make for the riders, basically showing all the Precision Fuel and Hydration products that they need for their particular ride. So they would use that this morning as well on that longer 60K stage to ensure that each rider has their own unique nutrition needs accounted for. In fact, you can actually do that with Precision yourself in 2 different ways. Number one, they have their athlete support crew that you basically just have a Zoom meeting with, totally free, for 20 minutes or so, where the sports scientists will walk through the exact event that you want and your race goals, etc. And then the second piece is something they just announced this past week, which is their own new nutrition stickers or nutrition labels, basically modeled after what Team Lotto Destiny does, where you can go ahead and create these label sheets, put little stickers on for the different products. You can put it on anything from your bike stem to top tube to water bottles. If you're doing a much longer event where you have an athlete support crew, you put it on that box. Like, it's super cool idea and very practical. Now you can save 15% off Precision products with the coupon code you see on the screen right there. Thanks again to Precision Fuel and Hydration for sponsoring this episode. I appreciate it. Okay, so I'm gonna walk you through what happens when a rider gets up to the start. Here comes one of the Visma riders through the bike path here, certainly accustomed to riding here. While she goes that way, what's actually happening over here is her team car is getting ready to go through its own process. So these guys right here are assigning plates to the front of cars. I'm just gonna fix the next car that comes in here so I can show you how this all works. There's a bunch of the police. Note that it's both the French police and the Dutch police mixed together on motos. They're going off to the start there, getting ready to escort the next sets of riders. Okay, here comes one of the teams right now. They're putting on that plate, basically it's a suction cup system that goes on the front there. You can see a number of different team cars zooming in behind it. You've got different official cars as well as VIP cars back there too. So they've got their plate on there. There's the mechanics in there along with the spare bikes. And they're gonna go up here. We're just gonna follow them along. It's simple enough to do that. So they've got to make it through all of the traffic. Here they come through the traffic. These are the Shimano neutral vehicles, so they've got spare stuff on there, normally for the road stages. For today's TT stage, they're pretty much going to stay here the entire time in case there's some sort of breakdown. So you can now see all of the team vehicles lined up to the starting gate. That's just right up there. So these basically are lining up and waiting for a rider. And what's going to happen when the riders comes in, I'll wait for that to happen here in a second. Okay, so here comes one of the riders right now with her bike.
Engulfing the top of the ascent, and when she came through, showcasing her ability as a modern-day gladiator, just cutting through the elements to go and grab the cup and win, and secure as well the yellow jersey and the bus.
Okay, so her bike is being put up on the stand by the UCI. So the UCI is going to basically be checking it for a bunch of different specs. So you'll watch them go through that, their measurement specs to ensure it's legal and compliant.
So essentially what's going on here, just for a bit of added context, is that every single part of the bike has different maximum and even minimum allowable measurements. And so they're looking at, for example, seat angle, ensuring it's correctly done. And so they're basically walking through this. Shimano helps with this from a Shimano neutral service standpoint, and then the UCI is also their officials. This is true on the men's side as well as the women's side, but in particular they do a lot of focus of this within the time trial stage itself.
race indeed as we move back.
Okay.
Put another rider here on stage with PG Insurance.
Once her bike is checked out, it stays with the team mechanic. So you can see each one of the team mechanics has a bike, and those bikes all represent one of the riders that is over here in effectively the waiting room. Now, with longer TT stages, you'll find a bunch of trainers up here the riders can warm up on from basically the 4 or 3 major trainer brands. There's one elite trainer right here, just sort of chilling out, but realistically, they're over it today. They are so over riding and warming up and being hot for this entire 2 for a day. And then from there, once it's their time slot to go, they're on the line here, and then the line they go up into the starting gate up there. So you can see here goes one of the Postinel, the DSM riders up the top.
Getting her campaign to look at concentration, the positioning on the bike as well.
And then concurrently you can see the Team DSM car off to the right up there, ready to roll. So at that point you start, but here's the thing. I just hitched a ride and I gotta go start there. Now I can't show you video of the course from inside, but I can show you still photos. So here's what happens next. So at this point, the rider starts off to our left there, and we're gonna stay behind. Now, of course, each team director is gonna be different in terms of how they treat their riders. In this case, very, very experienced rider. She knows what she's doing, and it wasn't much that we said to her. He said, I didn't say anything. I just sat there and observed the whole thing, watched the world go by. From a sports tech standpoint, what's interesting though is the Velo Vero console that's down to the left there. Thanks again, I appreciate it. Awesome, have a good one. I think he's just as excited to have me there as I was to be there. Like it was great. Team director there for Human Power Performance. I actually met him yesterday and we had a long sports tech geekery chat beforehand, and then I happened to be walking by and he's like, hey, you want to jump in right at the start there? So I'm like, yeah, absolutely, I will jump in. So on that screen there, the Velo Viewer screen, that's something that every single team here, like almost, maybe all but one uses. Both the men's side, the women's side is used in virtually everything in cycling. And the entire course is there, and they can add waypoints and markers and things like that. It shows the elevation profile, shows where they are, their speed. It is, as I just get in the car with him, and he said it is, quote, essential for what they do. It's absolutely super important for their stuff. So at that point, this course is only 6K long, so we went around. The crowds were awesome here. Everyone's cheering, a great time. Riders stayed up, which is, of course, a good deal. A couple potholes and stuff to be aware of that they had marked, and were kind of just letting her know heads up on that. But otherwise, she just raced her own race. From a mechanical standpoint, there was a team mechanic in the back seat, and of course, the spare bikes on the top as well. My wife also got to go with Team FDJ as well. So here's a couple little snippets of photos from her day there.
Die, come on, we got it. Come on, keep going. Come on, 10 seconds, head down, come on, push, come on, silly, you're almost done. Super job, come on, yes, that's it, come on, head down, come on, push, super strong, come on, you got all these fans for you here, silly, come on, we're leaving everything out here on the road, come on, girl.
Her driver was a former track cyclist, and so she had a blast there, thanks to both FDJ as well as Human Powered Health for letting us hitch a ride and check things out. Anyways, there you go, complete look at what it's like end-to-end inside of the Tour de France, inside of a team car, inside of everything. Super cool experience. My wife, with that, the last thing to do is toss up those smart trainer numbers. I'll put that on the screen right now so you can see what that looks like, those totals at the end of the day. Keep in mind, it is totally sponsored. So it's all about what those total sponsors want to contribute from a trainer standpoint. Here we go, another rider right into that whole process right behind me right there. If you found this video interesting and useful, go ahead and give it a like at the bottom, or subscribe for plenty more sports technology goodness. Thanks for watching, have a good one.